Hey, this is California. I have a question. Yo, Callie, where'd the money go? Yeah, I want to know where the money go. We're talking what, $24 billion? B as in boy. Where did the money go? So, first, let's look at this tweet. It says here, the more that is spent, the worse it gets because the money doesn't go to the homeless. You think? It goes to the hundreds of charities that then treat the homeless as a source of revenue. The more homeless there are, the more money these organizations get. So it's their incentive. Yeah, here it says California fails to track its homelessness spending or results, a new audit say. Why would they fail to track the spending? Gee, aside from charities, what about the NGOs, the non government organizations? So check this out. It says, ever wonder, and I'm going to make this a little larger so you can hopefully see it. Ever wonder how politicians get so rich? They funnel billions into NGOs, non government organizations, where their families work and who pay them to speak and to serve on boards. The $24 billion California spent on the homeless crisis went almost exclusively to NGOs. Are we surprised? I'm not. So here, $24 billion earmarked for the homeless ended up in Democrat pockets. Since 2019, California has poured $24 billion into addressing the homelessness crisis, yet much of its funding ended up in Democratic aligned NGOs, serving as employment pipelines, yep, for Democratic politicians and their families. We're going to talk about that. Despite the massive investment equating to about $160,000 per homeless person, the crisis has worsened, with homelessness higher today than it was before. How is it done? Follow the money. Let's talk about the NGOs, the non government organizations. So, here's what typically, and this is my understanding, so I'm not making myself the authority on it. Just like with charities, okay, the people are not showing up for free. The office rent, the phone lines, it's not for free. So what do? You have a charity or an NGO. And so your job is to help the people out and come up with an idea. So you're going to need an office. You're going to need staff. They have to be paid. Why do you think so much of the operating costs in most charities, so much more of the money goes toward what? The operating costs, the office. Even if you're working from home, who's on the payroll, the staff answering the phones, the computers? Most of the money goes toward the overhead. So let's say, for example, somebody. So you ever heard when someone say, "Oh my gosh, when a crisis comes along, somebody's going to make some money." Why? The government money is going to start flowing all over the place, meaning different organizations. So you have a charity, you have an NGO, a non-government organization, and you can Google it. You can set wages. Let's say, okay, so over here you're going to get $5 million. $5 million. What you can do, we're going to help the homeless. So I'm going to put a team together. And you may lease a building that owns, it could belong to a politician. Popcorn knowledge, people that are so ignorant they don't understand, they just stand back. If they're consumed with entertainment, they're never going to get it. And so when these things happen, they're like, hey, what happened? I don't understand. So they might lease a building that belongs to somebody that they know. Then they can put their relative, son, daughter, cousin, even their mother on the father on the payroll. So I'm going to go ahead and pay them $120,000 a year. Pay $120 a year. They can cater lunches, have them brought in dinners. All so that money to help the homeless. That's why the money is spent on the payroll. As you can see here, that's why it says 24 billion earmarked for the homeless ended up in Democrat pockets. Of course, why? The funding ended up in Democrat-aligned NGOs. So you have to be aligned with the Democrats to get the NGO. You get it? So then what happens? Well, they pay out all these salaries, and then you can also have somebody to do research. Yeah. Have somebody to drive around and maybe try to find some you can get a realtor for that. No, they know what they're doing. It's a money grab. So if somebody gets $5 million, guess what? $1 million, if you're lucky, it might go to helping the homeless, but it won't. Administrative cost. Somebody have to answer the phone in the fields. Or we're trying to find a building, and I'm going to go ahead and pay my son or grandson $500 a day. We'll get a realtor. I want to pay my grandson, and they can work with a realtor $500 a day to try to find it. Let's see what the people's needs are. Let's go out to the streets and talk to them. More money is going to be paid behind the scenes than what's to help the people. $24 billion. Somebody's getting rich. Oh my gosh. Do you not see this? And some people have they have no idea. Notice, track some politicians. They may get in maybe barely worth $100,000. A year or two, they're worth millions. Gee, I wonder why. It's things behind the scene that a lot of people don't see. And so when people are so caught up on the hamster wheel of trying to survive, working 2 and 3 jobs, on that hamster wheel, you're so tired and stressed out, you don't want to hear anything that I have to say or about an NGO or about the homeless. I'm tired, I'm stressed out. I want to see some entertainment to make me laugh. Why? To get away from the rut that I'm in. I don't want to hear about the news, the economy. I don't want to hear about all that. Why do you think the hamster wheel is designed? For a reason. Boo, they're smarter than you and me too. It's all by design. And you're so tired. And while you're so tired and they feed you a line, 24 billion earmarked. They can't account for it? They're not tracking it? Are you kidding me? Who is this stupid? It serves their interest not to track it. Mm-hmm. It serves their interest, in my opinion, not to track it. Why? Because they know what's going on. They feel to track the homeless spending. Why they didn't track it? I can only deduce that they don't care. Why they didn't track it? $24 billion? Ooh, somebody getting rich. It's money in politics, baby. It's money in politics. It's money in government organizations. Someone said to me years ago, am I doing an NGO? Well, I'm not a Democrat, you know. So I, of course, would not be the one to get it. But here's the whole thing. It's things like this here that a lot of people have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. $24 billion. Then how the hell do we explain all of this? And it's getting worse. How do we explain all of this and it's getting worse? The money's been spent. Oh, they failed to track where that $24 billion went. Really? So yeah. So I'm not gonna make this long video because I know people are like, oh my gosh, okay, some people like popcorn knowledge. But yeah, this right here, this shouldn't be. That was enough money to basically have 100, based on a report, $160,000 per homeless person. But that didn't happen, did it? They failed to track the money. How the money's been spent for the homeless. And I was taught the Republicans are the bad guys. Greed. $24 billion? Somebody getting paid. In closing, since 2019, California has poured $24 billion into addressing the homelessness crisis, yet much of its funding ended up in Democrat-aligned NGOs. Maybe that's why they didn't track it. Despite the massive investment, equal to about $160,000 per homeless person. So if you're a couple and homeless, that's $320K. Despite that, the crisis has worsened. Why hasn't the crisis worsened? Because it's in their darn pockets. Why has it worsened? It's in their pockets. And guess what? You think they don't know? This is no oversight. It's in their pockets. Duh. That's why they what? I would imagine that's why they failed to track it. In the meantime, in between time, our American citizens, this is your new apartment. And now you can be fined and prosecuted for that. Make it make sense. Thanks for watching. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you all think about it. It is absolutely ridiculous.